Good morning. Today's one of those days that I wish I had something valuable to say and productive and that I was making a lot of progress, but none of those are true. So in yesterday's video, I spoke for half the time about how I was not going to work yesterday and that, I was going to take a rest day and do errands, and then immediately after the video ended, I went down and was going to do laundry, and they were all filled, and so I couldn't do laundry, and so I ended up walking, that was an adventure, to a coffee shop, and worked on my laptop. Except I did more like admin type stuff, which actually was helpful, but yeah, I just thought it was funny. I was like, I'm not gonna work tomorrow. There's so many little things that I want to talk about. And there's one big thing that I want to talk about, but I don't feel comfortable talking about it. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. I would say I didn't have any great realizations yesterday about picking a niche or business idea to pursue, but I did dream about it. And that was, I don't know what I dreamt about. I can't remember, but I know it was about like business ideas. I don't think it was some like social media marketing or I don't know, but anyway. It tells me that my subconscious is working on this, but I really do think I'm flipping on yesterday's hypothesis and that I do need more information. Yesterday I was like, I just need to like let it simmer, but I think I actually need more information and like to actually work through things. So we'll see how that goes. The other smaller thing was that I thought was very interesting. I went to this mall yesterday because I was going to try to buy a new t-shirt, and on my walk back I was ChatGPTing about apparently like 60 to 65% of Malaysians in Kuala Lumpur, I don't know the actual numbers, but apparently about 60% of Malaysians are Muslim, and so I am new to all this, but a bunch of people walk around with hijabs, the like scarf thing, and yesterday I was ChatGPTing and I was like, culture me, like what is a hijab, like what is the Islamic religion, like what do people value, and because I know nothing. And it was fascinating. I think I knew a little bit or some things, but one of the things that I wanted to say was, well, let me see if I can pull up some of the things that I learned. As a reminder, I know nothing. I am a uncultured person. Let's see. Bear with me. So apparently the hijab is about like modesty, and I was learning about all these like cultural values, and I was asking about like the downstream effects of the cultural norms and cultural values, and that was really interesting. Um, Let me see if I can find it. So anyway, I was learning that so they pray 5 times a day and fast, declaring faith, charity, pilgrimage, and so media and entertainment is less violence, sexual content, explicit language. Fashion clothing is a lot more modest. Apparently, they don't have interest in banks. So, like when you give your money to a bank, and they give you like the 0.1% interest, or if you get a high yield savings account, like that doesn't exist. What? And there was something about do I want to get into this? Maybe I won't get into this. I was asking about the differences in culture on the whole gender and sexuality. What would you even debate that is going on today, particularly in the West? And let's just say they're kind of two opposing viewpoints. I don't know how much I want to get into this. I'll say this. So I was asking what's the Islamic view on the U.S.? Like, what is that? Because I don't know. Like, what's the argument basically? Like, what is the consequences of being too progressive, basically? And this I thought was interesting. Some of the things were there's this, and again, I'm reading from ChatGPT. This is like very either basic level information or potentially just not accurate. So take it with a grain of salt. But this is what I'm learning. There's a belief that traditional values are essential for the social fabric of society. Family structure, traditional family structures are highly valued. Social stability, having a unique cultural identity. And I was reading this and I was like, wait, wasn't the whole like mid 1900s all about like the nuclear family in the US? Like, wasn't that like a really big like thing? And it was, yes, the family is essential, but like, where did that go? I don't know. And apparently self-control and modesty is like an important value in the Islamic religion. And I thought this was fascinating because, yeah, I talked about some other interesting things that I would love to share. I just don't feel comfortable sharing just yet. And I don't know, maybe you're probably in the US, so maybe you also hold these views of, I don't know, like I said, I'm very uncultured, but when I hear the word Islam, Muslims, like, I feel like from what I learned in the culture in the US, it has a negative connotation. And I'm like, why is that? You know? You know, things come up like, oh, they're very like rigid and conservative and everything is very strict and traditional values and it's all, you know, all of this is bad. And like, do I have anything good to say? I don't think there are any associations. This is sad. There are no associations with good things. Like, just off the top of my head. Like, that is sad. I'm going to be honest. But walking back, I was like, this is fascinating. And I think the reason I find it fascinating is I'm not particularly religious, but I have found interest in, there's a whole lecture series on Jordan Peterson doing a psychological interpretation of the Bible that is fascinating. And that has got me interested the most out of anything in religion. And I think the reason why it's so like fascinating to me is because like I'm in it. Like I'm walking around and 60% of the people here are Muslim. And it's like they look like normal people. The society looks like a normal society. And it's like, where are all these negative, like, people are very friendly? Like, what? I don't understand. It's amazing here. Like, what? So, yeah. I don't know that I have more to say. It was kind of a jumbled mix of thoughts, but I found it very interesting learning about the, how would you say, Islamic values and religious values, what is considered normal and okay, and what is considered forbidden. Like, here's one thing, because I think maybe this will be interesting. Like the whole modesty thing. I was like, hold on a sec. Like, the US is very like sexualized, and you walk by any like shopping mall or whatever, and there's like, you got the like women's lingerie and like underwear businesses, and it's like, you got the like massive poster, and it's like a supermodel woman, and she's just in lingerie, and you're just like walking down like a public supermarket or like public shopping mall, and like, there it is. And I was like, so like, obviously there are underwear businesses in like Malaysia. Like, what do they do? Do they just not advertise, or like, what? And apparently I was learning that since, you know, modesty is more of like the cultural norm and fabric, that like they'll use mannequins or just not like use human models. Like they'll use a mannequin or just like nothing, and just like, I was like, is that not like fascinating? It's just like being in another country. I think the best half year, I have expanded my perspective a lot, on the US and the world. And I think I was gonna talk about other things, but maybe, I guess, while I'm on this topic, I have my perception of, like, look, I grew up in the US, and growing up in the US, like, it was all I knew, but it was also everything. And like, the US is the center of the world, and everything else revolves around the US, the culture, like, you never hear about other cultures in the U.S. And so, like, I thought the U.S. just, like, was everything, and, like, what is everything else in the world, you know? That was, like, my view. And I feel very fortunate to be able to have this perspective and say this, but, like, I've traveled the last 6 months in Europe, 3 months in Europe and Southeast Asia, and having met so many other people from all countries in the world, and just being, like, I haven't even really been in the local cultures, but just, like, existing in another culture is, like, my view of the US has shrunk to, like, it is now this, like, not island, but even just thinking about, like, business and markets. Again, I thought, like, the US was, like, everything. And I've met people, I've met a guy from France who was, like, just targeting the French market. And I was like, I didn't even consider that. Like, there is just a market of people in France. And the same thing with Germany. Same thing with the Netherlands. Same thing with, like, Asia. It was like, I feel so, like, this feels sad. But I had never gotten this perspective. And so now when I viewed the US and, like, the US market, it's like, it's just a group of people in a country. And there are other groups of people in other countries that are also deemed as markets. Things that I've never thought I would have learned. Yeah. So anyway, I think I'll call the video there. I don't know. This is one of those videos where it's like, you just gotta, like, get to the next video. Come back tomorrow, and maybe it'll be better. Bye.